The first season of Netflix's Shadow and Bone kind of took the world by storm, at least for a bit. Now the Grisha are back for a second season, and the stakes are higher. Will this fantasy drama continue to entertain, or is it going to be sucked into the darkness of the fold? Alina Starkov is on the run. A beacon of hope to some and a suspected traitor to others, she's determined to bring down the Shadow Fold and save Ravka from ruin. But General Kirigan has returned to finish what he started. Backed by a terrifying new army of seemingly indestructible shadow monsters and fearsome new Grisha recruits, Kirigan is more dangerous than ever. To stand a fighting chance against him, Alina and Mal rally their own powerful new allies and begin a continent-spanning journey to find two mythical creatures that will amplify her powers. So we've got the returning cast of characters with Alina, Mal, Jesper, Inej, Kaz, Genya, and Kirigan. But also for this season, we meet some new characters and some that appeared towards the end of season 1 who get more prominence now. There's Nina, Nikolai, Toila, Tamar, Wylan, Nadia, and Adrik. Now, each of these bring new facets and powers to the story, and at key times, they each play an exciting role in the narrative. Now, the first few episodes, it took me just a bit to get back into the groove of the story, especially because we're still watching a few different angles and locations all play out at once. They're all working towards the goal of collecting the amplifiers for Alina, but because they're all separated, each arc then gets to take a little bit of the focus and delve deeper into characters and relationships. Now, for me, the Crows are still my favorite, and despite the ongoing faux drama that exists between the three, especially between Kaz and Inej, all the dynamics are a lot of fun to watch, and I appreciate that the story, for this time, it heavily dives into Kaz's past, giving us the reasons for why he's so pained and guarded, and also why he's hesitant to touch others. And they're joined by Nina, who we met towards the end of last season, and she's kind of a wild card for the group because she has her own agenda, but is also very important to the Crows, just as they are pertinent to carrying out her goals. Now, somebody fun that also joins the group is Wylan, and there's a great ongoing flirty joking that just happens between him and Jesper, and it revolves around demolitions and the lack of lost fingers. Now, I'm totally digging the fact that Jesper has more time devoted to him, which then leads to some cool revelations and actions. Now, I have to be patient for these, but it's great to watch him come to certain realizations and then act on them. Kirigan is menacing in this season because he's now like the baddie on steroids. He's got these beings that appear and they're wickedly powerful and violent, and they just might be undefeatable. Now, the graphics that are used to create the beings, they work really well to build out entities that are massive in stature and terrifying to see, but also flowy and beautiful in a very violent way. Now, I continue to enjoy the dynamic between Kirigan and Alina as their connection and ties grow more complex and tense. And there's some really good suspense that's built up as they continue to have interactions. Now, I do think some of the outcomes are a little predictable, but these didn't harm my enjoyment of the story because the overall arc itself is a bit obvious, even if the specific plot points aren't. And when the story focuses on Alina and Mal, their chemistry, it just continues to confuse me. I mean, I root for them to be together, and they work well as a team and as a couple, but there's also this slight feeling that I keep getting where I picture them more as brother and sister, and that then disturbs me. Man, I know they're not, and they clearly work as a romantic item, but I guess the familiarity that they have with each other and then the banter they share, it sometimes lends itself more to a sibling relationship than a romantic one. And joining their part of the story are some of the new additions in characters, and they are just spectacular to watch. First, there's Toila and Tamar, played by Louis Tan and Anna Leong Brophy, respectively. Now, they are excellent fighters, but it's how they interact outside of the fighting that really endeared them to me, especially Toila, as he is just this brutal warrior, but he's also somebody who loves and appreciates poetry and fine foods. I mean, his demeanor, it doesn't always match the exterior, but that's also what makes him fun to watch. And then there's Nikolai, played by Patrick Gibson, who you might recognize from the amazingly complex and woefully canceled series, The OA. Now, he's a privateer, and his whole storyline and arc really helped to shape the trajectory of this season. Now, at first he comes across as very full of himself and arrogant, but when the facade comes down, we see his true character, and I love what he brought to the story as a whole. Now, this is 8 episodes, just like the first season, and each of them are almost an hour long, if not maybe a little bit more. So the show is quite lengthy, and it's going to take a chunk of time to binge. But once the season reached about a third of the way in, the intensity and pacing really began to increase, with a couple of the episodes actually putting me on the edge of my seat with anticipation. The action is fun, and the fight choreography I think works well. The show does sometimes use slow-mo to enhance certain moves and sequences, but it enhanced the actual visuals rather than becoming an annoyance. And the special effects are still at a pretty high level of quality, and the costume designs, they just continue to impress, making even the dregs of the society feel slightly posh. The set designs also help to create a visceral world where we can smell the stench of the barrel or enjoy the fragrant air of the royalty. And there are a few big climactic moments as the season begins to wrap up. What's kind of crazy is that one of the main climaxes actually comes towards the beginning of the final episode, which kind of left me wondering where the story was going to go and how they'd handle the remaining 30 plus minutes. Thankfully, there is more to tell, and what's given, it helps to lead us into the next chapter, as well as sets up some new character directions that I think should create some fun excitement in Season 3. Now, I haven't read the books that these are based on, so my experience with this story is only what I've been shown. Maybe they've stuck really closely to the source material, or maybe they've strayed massively from the path. So I am curious to hear from anybody who's read the books and then watched the show to hear how faithfully the show actually maintains the heart of the story. So overall, Season 2 of Shadow and Bone builds extensively on the previous story, building up the characters we know into more rich and fully developed arcs, while also introducing new players to keep the story fresh and exciting. While some of the arcs and story directions may be a little predictable, the acting, effects, costume designs, and general tone of the season make for an entertaining narrative that builds in intensity as the episodes progress. And if you're a fan of fantasy, this show combines energy, peril, darkness, and love to create a compelling tale where the fate of the world rests on the actions of an underdog. There's some sex, no nudity, some profanity, and a ton of violence. I give Season 2 of Shadow and Bone 4 out of 5 couches. So who's your favorite character? Now, for me, it's a toss-up between Kaz, Jesper, and Inej, but let me know yours in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.